My name is Clara, and this dress was supposed to be the beginning of my forever. Every stitch, every bead, every tiny pearl was a prayer, a promise I had sewn for myself and for the man I loved, Leo. It wasn't made of expensive silk from Paris, and it didn't carry a famous designer's label. It was made by me, in my small apartment above my father's bakery, a room that always smelled faintly of sugar and warm bread. To me, this dress was priceless. To my future mother-in-law, Beatrice, it was a symbol of everything she despised about me. Beatrice entered my life like a blizzard in midsummer, cold, beautiful, and utterly destructive. She was the matriarch of the wealthy Sterling family, a woman who measured the world in carats and pedigrees. Her son, Leo, was her prized possession. He was kind and gentle, and when he looked at me, I felt like the only person in the world. But when his mother looked at me, I felt like a stain on her perfect ivory carpet. I was the baker's daughter, a girl with flour under her fingernails and a heart too simple for their gilded world. From the moment Leo proposed, Beatrice made it her personal mission to either mold me into a Sterling or break me. The wedding planning was her battlefield, and my spirit was the territory she intended to conquer. "Darling," she'd said during our first meeting about the wedding, her voice dripping with condescending sweetness, "we simply must do something about your aesthetic. A Sterling wedding is a statement. We have a reputation to uphold." She'd pushed a glossy magazine across the polished table towards me. A page opened to a wedding gown that cost more than my father's entire bakery. "This is the kind of elegance we should be aiming for, not homespun." The word hung in the air, an insult wrapped in silk. Leo, bless his heart, tried to defend me. "Mother, Clara is making her own dress. It's special to her." Beatrice had given him a look that could freeze fire. "Leo, darling, don't be naive. This isn't a school play. It's a society wedding. What will people say when they find out the bride is wearing a homemade craft project?" The attacks were relentless. She criticized my choice of flowers as common, my choice of music as pedestrian, and my guest list, filled with my loving working-class family and friends, as unsuitable. But her most venomous attacks were always reserved for my dress. She saw it as the ultimate symbol of my inadequacy. A week before the wedding, she cornered me during a final venue inspection. "Clara, it's not too late," she hissed, her smile a thin, cruel line. "I have made an appointment for you at Vera Wang tomorrow. I will pay for whatever you choose. Consider it my wedding gift. No one ever has to know about your little sewing project." "Thank you, Beatrice, but no," I said, my voice shaking slightly. "This dress is important to me. It's a part of me." "That's precisely the problem, dear," before turning on her heel and walking away. The worst came on the morning of my wedding. It was the moment I realized the depths of her cruelty. My bridesmaids and I were getting our hair and makeup done in the bridal suite. My dress was hanging by the window, catching the morning light, looking like a dream. Beatrice swept into the room, holding 2 glasses of champagne. "A toast," she declared, her voice unnaturally bright. She handed a glass to me. "To my son's happiness. May you bring him as much joy as he has brought me." As she raised her glass, she stumbled, a theatrical, clumsy movement. A full glass of dark ruby red wine splashed all down the front of my beautiful cream-colored dress. A collective gasp filled the room. The stain was enormous, a bloody wound on the delicate lace. Beatrice put a hand to her mouth, her eyes wide with fake horror. "Oh my goodness, I am so terribly clumsy. Look what I've done. Oh, Clara, I am so, so sorry." But as my bridesmaids rushed to try and blot the stain, I looked up and met her eyes, and in them I saw no apology. I saw a flicker of cold, calculated triumph. She hadn't stumbled. This was her checkmate. She thought she had won. She thought she had broken me, leaving me with no choice but to wear a dress of her choosing, to be a bride of her making. She had no idea who I really was. For a moment, I let the panic show on my face. I let a tear fall. I played the part of the heartbroken bride perfectly. "What am I going to do?" I whispered, my voice choked with stage despair. "Don't you worry, darling," Beatrice said, her voice filled with false sympathy as she patted my shoulder. "I foresaw that something like this might happen. I took the liberty of having a designer gown delivered here this morning. It's in my suite. It will be a perfect fit." I let my maid of honor, my best friend Anna, handle it. "Thank you, Beatrice. That's very thoughtful. We'll figure something out. Can you just give us a moment?" The second the door closed behind her, Anna turned to me, her face a mask of fury. "That witch! She did that on purpose. Clara, what are we going to do?" I took a deep, steadying breath, and then I smiled, a real calm smile. "Anna," I said, walking over to the large garment bag that had been sitting untouched in the corner of the room all morning, "you remember how I told you I always have a plan B?" I unzipped the bag. Inside was another wedding dress. It was not a copy of the first one. It was something else entirely. It was a masterpiece. A cascading waterfall of the finest silk, with intricate hand-stitched silver embroidery that shimmered like captured starlight. It was elegant, powerful, and breathtaking. It was the most beautiful dress anyone in that room had ever seen. Anna's jaw dropped. "Clara, where did you get this?" "I made this one too," I said softly, "just in case." The ceremony was beautiful. When I walked down the aisle, I saw two faces I will never forget. The first was Leo's, his eyes filled with tears as he saw me, his love shining so brightly it warmed my entire soul. The second was Beatrice's. She was sitting in the front row, and as I passed, her face went from a smug, triumphant smirk to a mask of pure, stunned confusion. The baker's daughter was not supposed to look like this. She was not supposed to rise from the ashes she had so carefully prepared. But the real show was not the ceremony. It was the reception. After we said our vows, after we were pronounced husband and wife, we all moved to the grand ballroom for the celebration. The speeches began. My father, a simple, honest man with flour permanently etched in the lines of his hands, went up to speak. He spoke of his love for me, his pride, and his happiness in welcoming Leo into our family. It was a short, heartfelt, beautiful speech. Then it was Beatrice's turn. She glided to the microphone, a vision in a couture gown. She started with pleasantries, but soon her speech turned into a masterclass in passive aggression. "I have always wanted the best for my Leo, the best education, the best opportunities, and of course, the best wife from the best family. But love, as they say, is a mysterious thing. It can blossom in the most unexpected places, even in a small-town bakery." The insult was clear. A murmur went through her side of the family.
My father, sitting at his table, looked down at his hands, his face tight with embarrassment and hurt. That was the moment my calm resolve hardened into steel. She continued, "And so we welcome Clara into our family, a gal with simple tastes but a big heart. And what a surprise she gave us all with that stunning dress. One must wonder where a girl like her found such a magnificent creation." She thought she was cornering me, humiliating me and my father in front of hundreds of people. She was about to get the surprise of her life. When her speech was over, I stood up and walked to the microphone. I smiled sweetly at her. "Thank you, Beatrice, for that introduction and for bringing up my dress. You're right, it is a magnificent creation, and you of all people should recognize the design." A flicker of confusion crossed her face. I turned to the audience. "For the past 5 years, I have lived a double life. To my friends and family here, I am Clara, the baker's daughter. But in the world of high fashion, a world that many of you in this room admire, I am known by a different name." I paused, letting the silence stretch. "My professional name is Alara." The name landed in the room like a bomb. On my side of the room, there was confusion, but on Beatrice's side, there were gasps, loud, shocked gasps. Alara was not just a designer, she was a legend, an anonymous, almost mythical couturier who created the most sought-after wedding gowns in the world. Her waiting list was years long. Her clients were royalty, celebrities, and billionaires. Her identity was the most tightly guarded secret in the fashion industry. I looked directly at Beatrice, whose face had gone a ghostly white. "It's funny, isn't it? A few months ago, you were telling all your friends at the country club how you had managed to secure a bespoke Alara gown for yourself for this very wedding. You bragged about it for weeks. You called the designer a true artist." I let my eyes drift over her expensive custom-made dress. I should know, because I am the one who designed it. I am the one who spent 60 hours hand-stitching the embroidery on the gown you are wearing right now. The room erupted. Beatrice looked down at her own dress, then back at me, her mouth opening and closing like a fish. She looked like she was going to faint. "The dress you so carelessly destroyed this morning was not some homespun craft project. It was my personal gift to myself, an original Alara creation that any museum in the world would have paid a fortune to acquire. The dress I am wearing now is my masterpiece, and neither of them would have ever been for sale. Because you see, Beatrice, true value isn't something you can buy. It's something you create. My father creates it every day with his hands, with his heart, with the bread that has provided for me my entire life. His work has integrity. It has honesty. It has love. Can you say the same about yourself?" I didn't need to say another word. The humiliation on her face was absolute. Her reputation, the only thing she truly cared about, was shattered in an instant in front of everyone she had ever tried to impress.
Leo, who had been watching this all unfold in stunned silence, walked to my side. He took the microphone from my hand. He looked not at the crowd, but at his mother. "I have let you disrespect the woman I love for the last time, Mother," he said, his voice shaking with a newfound strength. "You owe her, and you owe her father, an apology." Beatrice just stared, speechless and broken. We left the reception shortly after. We didn't need their party, their world. As we were leaving, my father hugged me, his eyes shining with tears of pure pride. "That's my girl," he whispered. Beatrice never recovered from that night. Her social world crumbled, built as it was on the fragile foundations of snobbery and prestige. But this story was never about her. It was about me, about a girl who learned that you should never let anyone else define your worth. My hands may have sometimes been covered in flour from my father's bakery or pricked by the needles of my secret passion, but they were my hands, and they had built a life, a love, and a future that no amount of money or status could ever buy. And that was the most beautiful creation of all.